Hello, everyone. Welcome to our special Q&A session with Luiz Lima, where Luiz will explore some fascinating insights from the spiritual author André Luiz in his classic Mechanics of Mediumship. Today, Luiz will go deeper into the mechanisms, if you will, behind spiritual communication, the moral and energetic conditions that shape the work of mediums. We are at a point that we have to say goodbye, Luis. We are wrapping up this series of presentations where you came to us and in this audience, and you've been, if you will, breaking down, right, and clarifying to all of us the the logistics, the mechanics, all of the intersections that exist that underlie the spiritual communication. And this is a topic not for the faint of heart. Many of us become interested just out of curiosity, but it is as complex as you can get. So, how did you do that? Well, Louise, you began by providing to all of us the foundations of mediumship itself. You move through the nature of the medium, the marvels, I could call it, right, of the physical phenomena, sensitivity of psychometry, and even the creative force of ideoplasty, right? You wrapped up with an area that I'm particularly interested, which is healing from a spiritual perspective. But to me, Louise, each episode has been a gift of knowledge. It has been a gift of understanding, and also to provide this link between our spiritual dimension, our material dimension, but also how they connect with our mind and our energy, right? Our vibration, how this here is really all about we are from an energy perspective. So today, as we arrived to the eighth and final episode of our series, we're going to be open for questions and answers that you, our dear audience, sent us previously. So, just as a reminder, this beautiful, beautiful exploration, again, as a reminder, already mentioned, is guided by those insights by André Luiz, right? And in his collaborative work with Francisco Cândido Xavier, as well as Waldo Vieira. And to me, this book remains one of the most profound contributions to spiritist science, where spiritual knowledge and scientific language meet to shed light to what is so difficult to understand, and because it's unseen, right, if you will. So we received many thoughtful questions, and I just want to know, let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, how you doing, Louise?
I'm
I
good.
will
I'm good.
straight
Thank
into
you.
this.
It's
Yes.
so nice to be here once again. Pity that it's the last one, right? But
Yeah.
it's been such a a bless to be able to participate in all the episodes, and because when we speak here, we also learn. So
Yeah.
it's good for
Yeah.
everyone.
Absolutely. I second that. Every time that I'm involved in any work, study group, lecture, presentations, panel discussions, we learn more, right, Louise?
Yeah,
But let's
absolutely.
go ahead and get started. I want to start with the very basics, right? Well, not basic, but the foundation of it all, the medium and their role. So, Louise, my first question that we received is, what are the key qualities of an effective medium? Some people call it a productive medium, right? But what are those key qualities, if you will?
Yeah, several qualities, but there's one that like outstands, which is the level of morality of the medium.
Hmm.
And the reason for that is we might even develop a little bit more throughout the questions and answers here. But the
Sure.
reason for that is a medium, which is an incarnate spirit with high moral standards,
Hmm.
will be able to connect with discarnate spirits in the same range, also
Hmm.
morally evolved spirits. If that wasn't so, meaning if the medium is a lower order spirit, incarnated, of course, but if his or she is a lower order spirit, that communication will flow from also a lower order discarnate spirit. And that complicates everything else, because considering that mediumship is an act of love, we're here to serve. And when we mean to serve, is serve with good deeds, to do good energy. So we
Hmm.
don't want to have this mediumship session between two lower order spirits, one incarnate and one discarnate. Is exactly the other way around. They need to be as highly evolved as possible, so we are up here, not down here.
Yeah.
So, and that by being up here, that makes mediumship extremely productive, or as you said, the
Yeah.
effective medium. That's is going to be that person who is really evolved in terms of morality, including several things: practice of kindness, practice of charity, fraternity, and it goes on and on and on.
Yeah, and I
And
have to say something, if you don't mind, because as you're
yeah,
speaking, something came to my mind, or a couple of things at least. Number one is most of us, right? Most of us here living today in this planet right now, we are not so evolved yet, right? We are all imperfect spirits on the road, of the journey toward perfection, toward being pure spirit one day, long ago and far, no, not long ago, a long way from now, right? But uh, when you put your hands like this, it's really interesting, because what came to my mind, Louise, is the fact that if we're here, let's say, I'm going to give a number, right? A level five, and I'm really good at level five, a spirit that will communicate will probably have to go down, right, to
yes,
meet
yes.
us. And our sense of morality, meaning our sense of being compassionate, loving, working on the efforts it takes to be better, right? And we are at five, but there's this effort, and in the preparation for the communication, while one goes down, educated, trained mediums will go up, and they meet halfway, if you will. It's not an exact science, in my opinion, just a thought. But that is already an effort to go down and go up. Can you imagine if I am a level one or two, right?
Uh,
It's just going to take a lot more. If I am someone, that's my second thought here. If I am someone, as you said, a lower order spirit, that communication comes out because the medium, as I see, is the microphone, right? It simply decodes a message from one dimension to the next,
mhm.
magnifies the message. But if the microphone or the vessel, the medium, is quite uneducated, but most importantly, uh, not very uh, developed or mature spiritually, psychologically, etc., it will be like, I don't know, Einstein, right, talking to a kindergartner.
Yes. We can think about this.
Uh-huh.
Suppose, imagine a language translation. Okay,
Yeah.
so somebody is speaking, say, Russian, and we need to understand in English. So there's a translator, a live
Yeah.
translator that does it on the fly. The quality of the translation, in terms of the ability of translating, that's the only thing that matters here, will have an impact. So
Yeah.
the message can be brought to English as a very poor message, fragmented, not very clear, or
Uh,
extremely clear, extremely precise. So it depends on the quality of the translator in this case, which is what the medium is. So the
yeah.
moral quality of the medium, the higher it is, the better it is because it will approach the level of those communicating.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautifully said. So, anyways, I have another question, still in that same area in terms of roles and qualities of the medium. So, Luis, can anyone, and we talk about anyone, it doesn't matter age, race, gender, right, birthplace, or socioeconomic status, can anyone develop mediumship, or is it a gift reserved for a few?
Yeah, when Allan Kardec first talks about it in the mediums book, he will say a generic phrase, we are all mediums. All mediums in terms of we have internally in our physical bodies what it takes to be a medium. However, some of us, or some of the mediums are really productive, as you said. They can really, sustain a communication. Other people cannot. Other people, at the best, they can sense.
Mhm.
I feel something in the air here. It's very vague. They cannot
Yeah, yeah.
say, "Oh, there's a spirit here that wants to communicate with me." No, they can't. So the question, can anyone develop? First, you have to be one of these. You have to be born as one of
Mhm.
these mediums who are going to be able to sustain a conversation. For those, yes, mediumship can be developed by learning fully about the process, about the condition, and why this particular person was born as a medium. So there's a whole explanation about this. Once this is in place, if the medium decides not to study, I don't want to study, I just feel these things, he's going to suffer a lot because, things are going to pop up in his head. He's going to have a clinical and physical symptoms that make no sense for that person. These are all consequences of the influence. So, develop the mediumship is to use the condition, which depends on the body, depends on the pineal gland. That's why
Yeah.
Allan Kardec says it's an organic faculty because it
Mhm.
depends on the body of the medium. But the medium has to be able to understand and use it properly. Otherwise, it's just going to be disaster.
Yeah.
You just go here and there and complain and feel this and feel that. It's really complicated for the medium who does not develop
And
his
and
her
by yeah,
mediumship.
and by the way, right, this has been scientifically validated that it's right there in the pineal gland that is the organic capability to mediate between two worlds. But what I find it interesting, this is a tidbit, long ago and far away, Louise, I think it may have been maybe 20 plus years ago, I read a fiction book, just fiction, silly one. And the plot was about this mass murderer collecting the gland. So of course you would have to kill because it's right in the middle of one's brain, right? And he would get it. I don't remember anymore what was the purpose. He gets caught, right? But I remember reading that and thinking, how interesting that this person, the author, pure fiction, talks about a gland that it has been for so long in the medical community, right? Medical scientific community. It has never seen, why do we have this gland? There is no
Yeah.
purpose. Well, we now know that it has a very, very important purpose within mediumship in others areas, right? We know that
Exactly.
now. Yeah, but it's just interesting. Anyways, Beck, do you want to wrap up or can I go for another one? We
No,
have
no, go ahead.
several.
Let's keep going.
All right. So I selected this because we received so many questions, but I selected this as our final in the same segment, right, on the role and qualities of the medium. But this is an interesting one. So thank you for whoever sent that to us. Luis, how do emotions, and they're talking positive or negative, affect communication with the spiritual dimension?
Well, let's start thinking about the physical plane. Somebody
Hmm.
who is having a fit,
Hmm.
rage, and very nervous, and you, for whatever reason, doesn't matter. You are
Hmm.
just in that situation. You want to kind of grab somebody and harm somebody for whatever reason. That person going through this for, let's just say, 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Those 5 minutes, the person is, quotes, please, brainless.
yeah,
The
yeah,
emotion takes over. The
yeah.
person loses the rationale, and they will do things that you wouldn't, of course, do in a regular behavior. So emotions change behavior. So it changes the concentration of the person who should
Yeah.
say, "Oh my God, I'm screaming here like crazy. Everybody's watching me. Let me stop." That reasoning is not there because the
Hmm.
emotions overshadow that. So concentration is not present. And that's what the medium needs. Medium needs concentration. That's the number
Hmm.
one thing. You need to concentrate to be able to, get into affinity with the upper realm. So emotions will overshadow the concentration, and the
Absolutely.
medium will have he will or she will have a very hard time to initiate the process, let alone sustain.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We even hear in a mediumistic session, right? Sometimes, and you don't have to have many, but maybe say 6, 8 people in that session. And sometimes a given medium, whatever the role of the medium may be, is not well that day. And instead of excusing himself or herself, they do come, and it is almost a, a, a joke, right? Where the spirits who are supporting that, now they have to insulate or isolate that person from removing the equilibrium or the balance required for that session. Isn't that true?
fluidic isolation, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yes,
And that will
yes.
take resources away from the whole group as a whole, the group as a
Yeah,
whole,
yeah,
to
yeah,
administer that
yeah.
particular situation.
So to me, it's like, I don't know, your dream, this is pure fiction, just came to my mind, but your dream one day is to climb the Himalayas, right?
Mhm.
And you're there, and but you were imprudent, and you did not bring your right level of jackets. So now you have to stop because you're freezing. So somebody else needs to give you that. And the Sherpa, poor Sherpa, or the guides are like, let's take care of this person because this person is not prepared for the very arduous
Mhm.
task of climbing the Himalayas. So it's not the same task, but it's very similar if you think about it. If you are going to do this beautiful role of becoming a medium, educate your mediumship, and being effective, productive in your mediumship, don't forget that, right? Let's keep eye on the
Absolutely.
prize, if you will. Yeah. And it's to me it's fascinating because in the book André Luiz describes the mind as the true medium, right?
Mhm.
And that shapes the connection with the spiritual dimension. So let's think about it. All the things that is required from your training, as I mentioned, your education, your disciplined approach, your willingness to do good, right, Luis? But
Yeah.
also to to be a good person, to demonstrate that you can, as we said before, go up to
Mhm.
meet with those spirits that are making tremendous effort to go down to our level.
Desire
Oh,
to do good helps a lot
yeah,
in concentration, by the way.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So, can I pivot to a second topic? Series of
Yeah.
questions. Okay, just a couple. But in your episode, one of the episodes, you talked about the physical manifestation. Do you remember that?
Mhm. Yeah,
And
sure.
we received a couple questions about that. And the first one was, Luis, why do physical manifestations usually occur intermittently? Oh, I'm tongue-tied today, right? It's not I'm now going to come here and boom, I'm going to materialize a flower
Yeah.
on will, right? It doesn't happen like that. Why is that?
Okay, the physical manifestations were very common in the beginning, the early days of Spiritism, and I would even go further down, spirituality as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it would be the way that the high order spirits, discarnate spirits, found to catch the attention, to catch our
Sure.
attention, to say, no, let's look at this thing. That's exactly how Spiritism starts.
Yeah.
One man, Allan Kardec, said, oh, I want to look at this thing. And that's how the whole thing develops. Now, there's a second reading here, which is it's not that they do not occur, it's not in the same, I would say, number of times that it used to be in the past. However, it's complicated to make it happen because it depends on several conditions that have to be present all at the same time. For
Mm.
example, the medium's state of concentration has to be there. You know, if you go back 200 years ago, 150 years ago, life was not as panicky as it is today. Life
Yeah,
was
I hear you.
much more, yeah, at a different pace. So concentration
Yeah.
was an easier thing, even in the great city, big cities. Like that's where it starts in Europe.
Yeah.
Vienna, Paris. Vienna and Paris today compared to Vienna and Paris 200 years ago, it's a whole different story. So it's harder in as a whole thing for everyone, not only mediums, for everyone to keep their state of concentration. Also, it depends on availability of discarnate spirits to participate. You have to have discarnate spirits, and as the population of the earth grows, you have more kind of patients to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
So that impacts as well, especially because most of us are very low order spirits. And it requires attention from the higher realms, and also the fluids, the environmental fluids uh, might not be the same. That is why it's almost impossible to duplicate a
Mm-hmm.
phenomena.
And it's,
The
yeah.
phenomena can happen more times. For example, like you said, materialization of a flower, but
Yes.
exactly the same flower with the exact same features
Yeah.
and characteristics. That's almost impossible because the fluids are not the same. And there's more, which we mentioned, I think, on the first program of the series.
Mm.
The Earth's magnetic field matters. So if you try to do a certain materialization, let's say in Nashville, where you are, it
Yeah.
might be completely different than trying to do the very same thing with the very same people in
Yeah.
Porto, where I am.
Yeah.
So
And it's
there
very,
are several
most people don't
conditions
know
here.
this, right, Luis?
Yeah,
The question of geographic changes and how mediums are able to perform the same. And I just remember, Luis, that Chico Xavier, Francisco Cândido Xavier, I'm tongue-tied today. Let me take a sip of water.
mhm,
But at some point, he did that a lot. So, which means he had the ability to give up, right? To donate, if you will, ectoplasm in the quantities required to do the physical materialization.
correct.
The
Yes.
question that became, and those were there were photos of it, so it's a lot of hey, this is happening. A lot of people paid attention, right? Because it's really quite interesting. How does he do that? But anyways, at some point, his guide, his spiritual guide, Emmanuel, said, "Stop it, right? Stop it,"
Yeah.
because the purpose of such materialization then become, is it entertainment or to play with the minds of those who are curious? There's so
Mhm.
much that we needed to do, and he, as you know, left an immense legacy. I think it's over 400 books published
Yeah.
in his lifetime. And this is just the beginning, right? He also did so much more than those books that were published. So if you think about it, instead of bringing those messages and of consolation, the messages of awareness, he was there creating flowers, right?
Yeah.
It,
It's not as useful, right?
right, right. What is the
Mm.
purpose? What is the goal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have another question on that,
Okay.
but it's very interesting because it goes back to what you already discussed. This question is, what is the role there's of three things, right? What is the role of number one, concentration, number two, faith, and number three, vibration, that energetic field, if you will, of the mediumistic group when they are producing the material, physical manifestation.
Yeah. Concentration, we spoke about a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, it brings concentration is to sustain the
Mm.
affinity with the good
Yeah.
spirits. The
Hmm.
whole group, not only the medium, the whole group has to sustain that communication. So they all have to sustain the affinity and
Hmm.
in contact in the higher realms. And usually prayer is a very good way to,
Love it.
for
Yeah.
those, not the medium, but for those participating and sustaining, prayer is usually recommended for that. As far as faith, faith is the mediums, all of them in a mediumistic meeting, but the mediums support and guidance that he's going to. Can you imagine a medium goes to a
Hmm.
mediumistic meeting? He sits down before the meeting starts and start telling himself, "Oh, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this lack of faith right there."
Yeah.
No, mediums, and Allan Kardec teaches that exactly in the Spirit's book. I'm going there and I'm going to be able to do it because I'm going to have good spirits sustaining me and supporting the whole process. So, medium has to have faith. Faith is the guiding light for
Yeah.
this thing to happen.
Yeah.
And vibration is important because everybody has to be on the same tone, like an
Yeah.
orchestra.
Yeah.
If the guy is playing on, Ray, and the other's playing on Do, things are gonna go not very good. Everybody has to sustain around the same frequency
Yeah.
to be able to support the group, so the vibration has to be uniform.
Yeah.
You have 10 people participating on a meeting. 10 is usually too much, but let's say 8
Yeah.
to 10 people, they all have to be on the same vibration to make the environment fluids uniform. So
And you're not saying they need to be the same, right? Like an orchestra, which is a great example, Luis, because each instrument has a different voice, a
yeah.
different way to contribute, but
Mhm.
they all need to be attuned to what needs to be done. Beautiful, beautiful example. So I would say, everyone, the phenomena, and I'm talking about the materialization, they depend on harmony, right? And also the ability to, from the medium that is donating ectoplasm, but his fluids more than willpower, right?
Exactly. Yes. Very important. The fluidic, movement is very important. Very important.
Hmm. Very good. So I have let's go to another set of questions
Yep.
that we received when you spoke about psychometry, right? So
Mhm.
in that episode, Louise, you discussed the sensitivity to objects and their stored energies, if you will. So what are the benefits of this type of mediumship? And in my very grotesque language, it says, why the heck do we need psychometry?
Well, there's always the type of, the curiosity. So you pick up an
Yeah, okay.
object, or the psychometry
Yeah.
medium will pick up a watch or something, and, go from there. However, it might not be very useful.
Yeah.
Uh, things coming from psychometry are, for example, to gain historical information on certain things, archaeological information. Archaeology uses psychometry mediums when they find something that
Mhm.
is off the charts. You're doing a certain excavation, let's just say in Rome, for example, and you
Yeah.
expect a certain thing because, most of the excavations have been showing us the same thing, bringing us, more or less the same
Mhm.
ideas about the past or at the time of the Roman Empire or something, and suddenly you find something that doesn't match up. It's completely off the charts, and now you don't have a reference anymore.
Mhm.
So they call psychometry mediums to hold these objects and, try to catch and bring information on what they mean, how they could even be in a place that for us it was completely unexpected. So
Yeah.
they are used professionally. For example, this is, professionally used for this reason. Psychometry is also used for criminal investigation,
Mm.
especially in the case of missing people.
Yeah.
Some people, they go missing, family reports after, say, 2 days, 3 days, and, they start, police and, in general, start looking for information where the person could have been, and they get absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
So they could hire one of these psychometry mediums, and they usually go to the family or those who reported the missing person and say, what of the objects that were left behind, what is the one that the person had most attachment to? And they'll give that to the psychometry medium. He will hold that in hopes that he will be able to, tell the persons, where they are or what direction they went to, or
Yeah.
some sort of information. Anything helps at this point.
Yeah. There
So,
is a series, and of course I don't remember the title, where this medium, something like medium of the stars or something, where he
mhm,
does that. He asks, bring something, right?
mhm,
And the guests will bring, I don't know. I'm trying to look, what could I bring about myself? Maybe my rings, right? Just give my
uh-huh.
ring with something that I use all the time, and all of a sudden he senses, and he goes about telling what he sees in that quick
Exactly.
vibration. But we see that a lot in criminal, like you said, not just
Yes.
in reality, but in fiction, right? With those series of detectives, etc., where it pops every once in a while the presence of a medium that has that special sensitivity, the psychometry.
Right. That's not going to be criminal evidence. That's a different story. But you will
Yeah,
give a direction for those investigating
correction.
to get to the evidences,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
the crime was.
yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. But can you tell us, maybe the person who sent this message may not understand, but the question was, how does psychometry reveal information?
Yeah, information is revealed by the medium,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the medium, yeah, we had a special program on psychometry, one of them. But
Mm-hmm.
the medium is able to access, and we explain why and how. He gains access to the spiritual realm, and from there, by holding the object, once he is in the spiritual realm, it's like he is living then in the spiritual realm. So
Yeah.
he is able to perceive the perispirit of the person that is, for example, spiritually holding or close to that same object.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mentioned the case of a going to a museum. There was a
Mm-hmm.
watch on a certain museum or a clock,
Yeah.
a big clock,
Mm-hmm.
and the the mediums approach and they go, "Oh my God, there's something here," because the girl who was the owner in life when she
Yeah.
was alive, the owner of the watch was of the clock was there with the clock. He
Yeah.
never left the clock, so he was
Yeah.
able to sense there's somebody here. So
Yeah.
that's how they get uh, uh, to the information. The information does not come from the material object.
Yeah.
Information is not does not come from atoms and molecules and in the object. That's just matter, inert matter. It comes from the fluids that are connected to the object.
Yeah.
And when the medium connects to the same object, he can feel that presence
Yeah. So can you
and pull out
imagine?
information.
Yeah, can you imagine going to different museum, archaeological museum, etc. How much, if those objects are still the spirit so connected, they may be there. And Louise, I don't know if I told you this. I know firsthand of the case of a very ostensive medium from Brazil, very old, right? She was quite old and did not speak a word of English.
Mm.
So she
Yeah.
came to visit. I think she went to Asheville, to the
Uh-huh.
Biltmore, right?
Mhm.
And of course, everybody's there. You can take photo, but everybody's talking, and there's the guide, etc., etc. And she just gets frozen, and they're like, "Come on!" And she just would not go anywhere. Well, at that moment, she later said there was a spirit. So it's not psychometry in this case, but there was a spirit talking to her that was kind of stuck and said all sorts of things. And shame on me, I don't remember the case, but when she told me about it afterwards, Louise, I went to the library and I found the case of the spirit.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and it was like, wow, if you don't believe it, hey, it's right there. This person with no access to story or anything, and she just told everything that there was a book about
Mhm.
what happened there. So I just find it fascinating, this
It is.
ability, right? The sensitivity, right?
Yeah.
There's another one, which is, I think you may have already answered, but anyways, I'll ask and you let me know. The question is, how can psychometry serve as an instrument for spiritual guidance or healing?
Yeah, again, psychometry is not going to heal directly.
Hmm.
However, the psychometry medium might be able, through his journey in the spiritist, in the spiritual realm, to
Hmm.
gather information on healing,
Hmm.
on coming from different spirits, for example, or it might lead the medical team to a research on a certain thing, on a certain location, to look at certain, do not oversee this and that. All of
Hmm.
these things can be brought in by the psychometry medium. So it's not direct healing, but it's help in the sense of guiding those in the medical team on how to
Yeah,
proceed, what to
yeah,
look for. Maybe you're overlooking this thing or that thing. This
yeah,
happens. This happens a lot too. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness, my memory. I read again long ago in Far Away, and the name that comes to mind is Catherine Miss. Do you know her? As she's an
No.
American medium that works. She's paid for it, right?
Mhm.
That is consulted many times by doctors when they are having issues diagnosing. So those difficult cases, you know, right? Sometimes you know of a rare condition, and the patient goes 2, 3, 4 years trying to pinpoint what is wrong with them, and no, elusive. And so this woman, her book, she writes about coming right there. let's say you're the patient, Louise, and I'm the medium, and go there, and she can see exactly the area of your body that there is a problem. Of course, she sees your perispirit, not your body, right? So
Mhm.
she goes and then she doesn't tell the patient, she tells the doctor. And the doctor then goes, okay, Louise, my patient, there's something in his, I don't know, left side. And now we're going to do a CT scan or MRI, et cetera, et cetera. And that proves to be really expeditious in that journey to find out what's wrong. So
Yes,
those,
people.
yeah,
Some
go
people
ahead.
have that ability. They just
Yeah,
put your hands,
yeah,
just coming down your body, and they'll stop
yeah,
here and say, "Oh, there's something here. You got to
yeah,
look into that." They will
yeah,
not tell you, what the cure or treatment is, but they'll say, there's something here. So they
yeah,
will say, "Yeah,
yeah. So we'll guide whoever is the physical doctor to look and eventually heal the ailment, right? But to
exactly."
me, Louise, it's just always intriguing how those, in the case of psychometry specifically, those energy imprints can carry some very emotional signatures, if you will, can carry some moral signatures, even after, I don't know, 500 years, 1,000 years.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so it's an important thing for us to reflect upon. What is it that I have that it may be carrying such my emotional imprint or my signature, if you will, that after decades, centuries after I'm gone, it's still, revealing my energy there.
Yeah, psychometry is fascinating.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, anyways, let's talk a little bit about
Yeah.
ideoplasty, right? And the power of thought. So in I think you're at the tail end of your episodes, you talked about you explored that, which is basically the influence of your thought in the spiritual communication. Is this a good way to define that?
It
So
is, but I'm going to add something. The
yeah,
influence of your thoughts, or your meaning the medium's
yeah,
thoughts, but also discarnate spirits acting upon the
ah,
medium's thought. And
yeah.
that makes it complicated for the medium,
Oh,
really complicated. I had an experience. It
yeah,
was, it was really some experience. I was, having dinner with a group of people, 6 or 7 people,
yeah,
and we were all part of the same spiritual center.
yeah,
So we were talking, and then suddenly, one of them, she was a medium, one of
yeah,
them, she raises her arm, like I'm going to do here on the screen, just like this.
yeah.
And she starts making a very weird face. We,
Hmm.
you're in a dinner, right? So somebody
Yeah,
does this.
yeah,
It's a strange movement.
yeah.
So we all looked at her. So she does a strange face, like she was suffering the intensity of pain, incredible, like this. And then she said to all of us, "Are you guys seeing this?" So we look at her arm and we don't see anything.
Yeah.
And we said, "No, we don't see anything." And she said, "They are writing on my arm.
Ah,
They are writing on my arm with
yeah.
their pen, with
Uh,
their pen." And we said, "No, there's nothing there." And she said, "But they do this all the time."
uh,
And then I asked, "What are they writing?" And she said, I never looked at it because I'm so afraid."
oh,
And then
uh-huh.
she was like this for another maybe 30 seconds or 45 seconds. And then she came down with the arm and said, "Oh, they finished their sentence."
Ah, ah, yeah.
That's idioplasty. And
Yes.
she was going through a very, very, very difficult time in her life, several different problems, illnesses,
Hmm.
family members, very difficult. So she was very vulnerable to,
Yes.
she was a medium and in a very, very unfortunate, vulnerable
Yeah.
situation, circumstance. And then one day that thing stopped. When she was, things were started to clear out and she was,
Yeah.
doing better. And so never happened again. But it did happen for a couple of years.
Yeah, in fact, I understand that novices, if you will, in their educational journey
Mhm.
of their mediumship, right? So you have all the symptoms that you are that type of medium that can connect, et cetera, and you start studying. We know that we're giving those guidelines. You have to study, and it takes time. It's not for the hasty or curious person. It takes commitment and time. But usually, right at the beginning, if they are not careful, they can be very prone to
Yeah,
being to be influenced by
mhm,
spirits. And I
absolutely.
remember someone that I found that this person who had a job that made her, it was a woman, travel all over the place, Louise, all over, just constantly on the plane. When she started in earnest in the mediumistic education, she couldn't travel anymore. She would go in and immediately get nauseous, and she would want to throw up, right?
Yeah.
And she was picking up, it was just vibration, the anxiety of those people that are afraid to fly around her.
Mhm.
The other
She was
thing that she
picking up. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, just sensitivity. And the other thing that she told me, there's like a couple of things, but the other thing is she could no longer go to amusement parks. It was just, she would
Yeah.
get dizzy because there's so much energy. And
Yeah.
finally, she said, Wouldn't you know, I no longer can go to shopping mall because it was similar to the amusement park where there's a lot of energy. And it's very interesting. And she said, after, I don't know, 6 months, all of it subsided because she had a little bit more control of those external influences,
Yeah,
right?
she learned how to deal with that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But the question, and I don't know, I think you already responded a little bit, but the question is a two-part question. Number one is, how does ideoplasty actually work? And I think you already started talking about it, right? And the second part is, are we aware of it in our daily lives?
Mhm. Yeah, everything that we do, thought comes before that. For example, you want to go to the supermarket, buy milk, right?
Yeah.
First, you idealize that you're doing this. First, it comes to, oh, there's a thought, and then you actually imagine yourself picking up the milk. It's
Yeah.
very, very, very fast, picoseconds, less than
Yes.
nanoseconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, it goes, your thought produces that idea. Now, our thought is, one of our subtle bodies, is not on the
Mm,
physical body. Thought comes from the mind. So other thoughts in vibration with ours can influence our thought. So the same way I can produce myself a thought of going to the supermarket and picking up
mm,
a bottle of milk, some other entity, some other discarnate spirit
mm.
might, with their thoughts so powerful, on top of my thought, say, just go to the top of the building, 34 floors, and throw yourself.
Ah, it's terrible.
That's how obsession works.
Yeah, yeah. But it's a
So,
terrible vision, but
it's a
yeah,
awful
yeah,
thing, but that's
yeah,
ideoplasty.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
as it is by definition, the thought takes over
yeah.
completely, and it makes it
And it's
happen.
yeah, and it's very interesting this reflection because if you think about it, it has happened to me, right? But you go to the office a certain way every day. You get your car, and one day out of the blue, you go a different way. And
Uh-huh.
because you go a different way, you see a long lost friend that you haven't seen in 30 years, and you stop and talk, and that connection was really required to heal some old wounds. And you look at what are the chances? And we say, well, no chances, right? There was a how do you call this, the law of attraction, right? That there is the animal magnetism that put us together, in addition to the thought from potentially your mentor, your spirit guide, and the mentor of that other person that needed the two of you to connect. And this is just one example, like the milk. It's
Yeah.
many ways that there is that influence, that ideoplasty.
And there
Uh,
are other situations that it
mm,
gets very close to what science calls hallucination.
ah,
The difference
mhm.
between idea. By the way, in the Spirit's book,
Yeah,
1861, there's a
yeah,
chapter about hallucination. And Allan
uh-huh.
Kardec says, we don't know anything, everything yet, of course, in 1861. It is,
Uh,
we have to study and know more. But it's
uh-huh.
the closest thing to ideoplasy. The difference is, for science, hallucination has to do with the personality. Okay? For spiritism, ideoplasty doesn't have to do with personality. It has to be with the influence of thought.
Yeah.
So it gets to the point where, for example, somebody a medium receives this heavy influence of something, and they will come to you and say, "There's a fish here on the floor. There's a
Hmm.
fish lying on the floor," and you go like, "What do you mean a fish? There's a fish here." And
Uh-huh.
they swear by everything they can that they
There was
will
a fish.
bet
Yeah,
any money on that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And we all around, we all look at it. There's no fish.
yeah,
That person, that medium, is going to be able to describe the
yeah,
body of the fish, the
yeah,
eyes of the fish, the
mm,
smell of the fish. They will tell you, "Can't you smell the fish?" Of
yeah,
course, we can't. That's how precise this is. We hear cases of people uh, looking at dogs really mad, trying to bite the person or the medium, and
mm,
they will precisely describe, the little hairs on the dog. They were
yeah,
colored. This part here was brown. This part here was gray, in details. Incredible, incredible, incredible. And it never happened.
yeah,
So these people, mediums, they see things that never happen. They
yeah,
swear by it, and it's all
hmm,
ideoplasty.
yeah.
So
And it's a
it's all
good
influence.
point to talk about the hallucination, right? In
Yeah.
that case, like I see this. No, you're not. But question: can, in your opinion, ideoplasty have positive outcomes? Specifically, can it be a teaching mechanism or healing mechanism?
Sure, yeah. It can, first of all, it's a teaching for the medium to learn
Mm-hmm.
how to deal with that. And
Mm-hmm.
ideoplasy doesn't have to be bad. It
Mm-hmm.
could be, for example, let's say that for one person, seeing, in quotes, right, seeing a mad dog is a tremendous benefit because of a history in the past or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah,
For
yeah,
me and you, we could just laugh at, mad dog, there's no mad dog. For that person, it
yeah,
might uh, 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 get her person out of trouble in certain
yeah,
situations related
yeah,
to dogs, for example,
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
water. How many people are afraid of water, afraid of
yeah,
dogs, afraid of heights?
yeah,
And experiencing one of these, just one might be enough.
yeah.
Sessions of ideoplasty might put them on a different uh,
Interesting.
uh,
I hadn't thought
perspective
about
on how to
the
see the problem.
phobia. Yeah, I haven't thought about the healing phobias, but that's a good example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, what are some ethical considerations we should be aware of when we talk about ideoplasty?
Well,
Anything comes
for
to your
every
mind?
type of mediumship, morality is number one. Right? So, moral
Mm-hmm.
standards, ethical considerations. Uh,
Mm,
you might be having an experience,
mm-hmm.
some sort of ideoplasty that is related to somebody else.
Yeah. I have an
My
example that I can talk about. Yeah, yeah,
right. So you need to think a little bit before you just act.
yeah,
Should I go ahead and carry that information over to that person? Was I instructed to do so? Is
yeah,
this good? Is this coming from a low order spirit? All of this matters. So ethical, yes, it's a
yeah,
consideration.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
had an example. You said,
yeah, yeah, and it was it came to my mind that this person, just a little bit like yours, the woman that raised her, right?
Hmm.
The medium that raised her hands, they're writing in me. Well, this person told me, and she was going through divorce. There was a really difficult time in her life. I mean, as stressful as you can imagine. And she gets invited to go to somebody's house. She gets there, and was from a different religion, right? A different
Hmm.
philosophical system. So not spiritist, not uh, anything that we know here. But she gets there, and there is somebody as a shaman, right? Um, a witch doctor, whatever you want to call it, that looks at this person who was very, very vulnerable already, and he just stops that. It was a party, right? Stops for everybody to see, and he goes into saying something like, "You are completely." Um, Chained, there's shackles around you, and I can see that you are controlled and manipulated. And then he goes on to say, right, this is evil, I need to free you. And it was just a lot of theatrics at this point. And that was terrible, Luis, because this person, um, that was already vulnerable became even more vulnerable from that thing, unexpected, right? But some unethical consideration, let's pretend no matter what you believe, you are that person that can see, right? And maybe there is ideoplasty where a spirit is giving you that vision about the other. Why in the world would you tell everybody in a social gathering about that? So it's about a sense of respect, right? But most
Yeah.
importantly, that person could have gone through a mental breakthrough,
Wow.
breakdown, right? She could really have a horrible time while she's already going through this. So we need to be compassionate. And I think those are what I would call some of the ethical considerations. Do I,
Absolutely.
right? The three things. Is this right? Is it useful?
Yeah.
Do I need to know, first of all, do I need to do
Yeah, that
to,
is
to
true.
share? Is this right? And is it even useful to do that? But anyways,
Yeah.
right? I think it's just a reminder from that question that all of us are responsible, medium or not, right? We are all responsible for how we verbalize the mental images that are projected to us, right?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
All right. I think we have a few more minutes. Do you have time for us to keep going?
Yeah. Sure. Sure. Yeah.
All right. So, from a healing mediumship, if we move into that topic, right, and to me, it's a theme that really touches me profoundly. So, I have four questions.
Okay.
So, the first one is, how is healing mediumship different from other types of mediumship?
Well, one thing that I see is, first of all, it's much more complicated. But in general, for other people, not the medium,
Mhm.
uh, we might have the idea that other types of mediumship produce faster results, if you will. For example, psychophony. So the
Yeah,
medium speaks right there. It's not that the medium is going to speak 2 hours later. No, it's right there. Psychography, same thing. The medium is going to write as it happens, not 3 days later, not 4 days later. And healing is complicated
hmm,
because healing, a lot of the healing that we need is like medicine, right?
yeah,
You don't take one pill and you get, everything is done and gone. No, it's a process. The body reacts slowly because it's material to different
yeah,
things. So in the book of Genesis, Allan Kardec explains that cells are replaced in healing sessions. When you replace cells, that's just, a few cells. We are 70 trillion cells. That has to propagate. So the
Yeah.
results are not snap of fingers like this in other types of mediumship. It's for those who expect results, immediate results. Typically it's not like that. The body needs time to heal itself. The time the body itself participates in the
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
a lot of
Beautifully
people
said.
don't have the patience to,
Yeah.
I want to get in and out, done with this. Not necessarily.
Yeah. And we have to perhaps think about it that sometimes, because you said it's complicated, sometimes by the mercy of God, right, the symptoms or the pain is what the patient or the person who needs healing is paying attention.
Exactly.
But healing may be even an aspect of how can I withstand the healing, provided withstanding the pain that I'm suffering in a better way. And some people say, but you're not healed. You're still going through this. Like, but I am, because I
Yeah.
am now in a better position to deal with that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Very good. Another question that I have here, Luis, is are there inner qualities the healer must cultivate? And I know I got a bunch of questions on healing, right? With many people call
Mhm.
it past or imposition of hands that we could maybe bring here if we have a little bit more time. But what are the qualities that the healer must cultivate?
Well, first of all, desire to do good. The
Mm.
healer needs to have in him or her all the time, 100% of the time,
Uh-huh.
I want to do good. Second, faith. I am able to. I'm
Yeah.
going to be supported. I'm going to be in a session with people sustaining the environment. And
Mhm.
of course, morality. Morality
Yeah.
is a number one.
Yeah.
So without that, you don't get anywhere as a medium. You get to, you know, it's like this. If you do mediumship, okay, if you're doing mediumship inside a spiritual center, you are in a different, a prepared environment for that.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's you're gonna have one type of outcome. If you
Yeah.
try to do mediumship by yourself at your house, you're not necessarily protected. You're not necessarily a person who has the highest
Yeah.
degree of morality possible. So you're gonna align with spirits that are here on your level, and not might not be a good experience. They might just make you suffer. They might
Yeah.
make you do things that you shouldn't be doing
Yeah.
because they are low order spirits. So morality is the number one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So let's go very tactical. Okay. Is there a dress code for both patients and pass givers during passes?
Not a formal dress code like you have something written on the wall before you get into the spiritual center,
Uh,
but it's common sense. Just think of this. Let me see if I can
mm,
explain to you. Let's
mm,
say I am a pass giver. You are the pass receiver.
mhm.
So you're sitting on a chair, and I'm in front of you standing.
Uh-huh.
So it depends on what kind of blouse, what kind of clothes you wear. This is going to be challenging. It could
Yeah.
create a problem.
Yeah.
It's difficult. The spirits will have to stop everything else they're doing to address that, so things don't go, out of
Yeah.
whack.
So
So there's
not
just
to
common sense.
distract, right? So not to
No
distract.
distraction. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember, Louise, not so long ago, just a few months ago, I think I told you I fell and I broke my nose,
Oh,
right?
oh my God.
And I had to go to the ER, and not only to check because I did have a concussion as well, but it's very different when you go to ER and everybody wears just the scrubs, right?
Yeah.
But what if I go and I find somebody completely crazy, crazy dressed and this and that? my needs as a patient would be distracted. Instead of get focusing on what I
Exactly.
need to receive, I would be like, what's going on? So it's
Yeah,
just common sense, as you mentioned.
it is. Yeah.
Um, Another one that is interesting: must the past giver be vegan or vegetarian? I am vegetarian, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
No, the patient must not be. It could be somebody who's not vegan, not
Uh,
vegetarian.
yeah.
That does not. You see, there's a question on the Spirit's book about this. Question 723. The question is, what about eating meat?
Yeah,
And the answer from the Spirit is everyone is on a different stage. If your stage
yeah,
requires that, you have to.
yeah,
Until you
yeah,
get past that point, one day you're not going to. But if it's
yeah,
your time now to do it, still time, do it. You're going to do here, here, here. Maybe from here up, you don't need anymore.
yeah, yeah.
So, but for the pass itself, the problem is
Yeah,
the
what is the
pass
part?
giver.
What's the question behind the question, right? Tell us.
Yeah, the problem is the pass giver. The pass giver has to have light meals on that day.
Mhm.
So there's no the flow of blood does not have to concentrate on, for example, digesting heavy foods, and
Yeah.
meat is one of them, or alcohol, which is another one, even worse because of the liver. So the past giver has to have light meals, and this
Mhm.
is usually we do for 24 hours before the pass.
Mhm.
So, the body itself doesn't have to deal with these things, and it's in the ectoplasm
Yeah,
generated by the body of the medium becomes more
yeah.
readily available for the spirits to process the pass throughout the
The
chamber.
donation, right? Which is a donation. You're giving
Yeah,
your
yeah.
energy, and so let's make it a way to the ability to do that. Very good. We are, it's 7 minutes after the hour. Let me look for, we have a lot of questions. So just the last one, I'm gonna get one because um, as we wrap up, right? This is the last time we're together on this. We're gonna see each other more often, I know. But if if you could perhaps close with maybe some examples that highlight the importance, and we're talking about ethics, right? Ethics in mediumship.
Mhm. Yeah, ethics in mediumship is we can see in two ways, right? The person itself, the medium,
Mhm.
has to be
Mhm.
an ethical person.
Yeah.
We're still in progress, but we are work in progress. But we know where
Mhm.
to get. We know it is possible to be better. So I usually
Mhm.
tell people, we should be living up to what we can be instead of
Yeah.
living to what we are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we know where we can be.
Yeah.
So why not live up to what we can be instead of living for what we are? So
Yeah.
that's one thing. And ethics has to do with the group, the whole group. So
Yeah.
if you have like 8 people, 10 people on a mediumistic meeting, ethical has, the ethical question has to be very well understood and placed. So the vibration is uniform.
Yeah.
If you don't have
So
everybody on the same,
yeah.
looking at the same parameters, you
Yeah.
know, go
It
ahead.
it's a recipe for not success, not
Exactly.
achieve the goals, right? And I think it's a
Yeah.
to me, it's not ethics, but to me, it's the commitment, right? It is
It
the
is. Yeah.
discipline, is the dedication, and the desire to serve versus being served, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Luis, we have enough questions to spend another hour, but it is quite late, right, for some of us. So let's just go ahead and wrap it up for today. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for all that you brought in the past 7 episodes and today. I believe Your answers gave a lot of clarity, and really, it's a reminder for all of us, right, that mediumship is a science. There is a component that brings us that scientific knowledge that you find in Medium's book, but it's a lot of learnings and preparation. But most importantly, it's almost this sacred, divine trust that we have to place.
Yes.
So, right, because we're uniting the what we could call the visible with the invisible, but we're doing that with love, with a sense of service, as I already mentioned, and discipline. So, before we say goodbye, do you have any final comment to everyone who's here with us today?
Yeah, well, I think it's been a great journey to do all of this. And, as people see more and more new questions can come up, we can always
Yeah,
do another session if needed.
yeah, I
And
love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, absolutely. So,
All right.
yeah, let's wrap up by doing a prayer, quick prayer.
Thank you.
Let's thank our Master Jesus, who gave us all the opportunities that we have to learn to be better people and to serve. Mediumship is an act of love. Mediumship is serving. And Master Jesus, we always ask for the goodness of those in hospital beds undergoing treatments. Some of them are, do not understand why they're hospitalized, why they're going through what they're going. That those souls can be, uh, you know, have your presence with them. Also for those in prisons, again, some of them do not even understand what they are in prison. That these souls can also be receive the fluids from the higher realms. Thank you, Jesus, for the opportunity to do this work once again, and that we can all have your support throughout our journey. Thanks so much. So be it.
So be it. So, for all of you that are here with us, thank you. Thank you for those who send your questions. And I do hope that those discussions those discussion points, right, we're able to inspire each one of us to refine perhaps our thoughts. And most important, Luis, to strengthen our moral compass, right? Because it is with that we'll be able to serve with greater light. So for everyone, until next time, let's us all keep studying, serving, and of course elevating our vibration. Thanks, everyone. Until the next episode.